So I want to talk to you about relationships, and it's actually a little different. It's like, I think more like men-to-men relationship, and this is part of what I'm sharing. I really feel like in my life, I try to surround myself with 4 relationships. And I want to say most men, we're not good relationships. You know, between brothers, sometimes it's not that deep. Sometimes among the women, in general, you know, stereotypically, they share more, they talk more. You know, like if you ever have small groups and you put 4 men together, they have a small group, 4 women. This thing lasts 15 minutes. You know, what do you think, bro? Nah, not much. Yeah, let's go, all right? You know, women, they like talk about, you know, weather, and then they talk about childhood, and then it goes on, and you know, and all this stuff. But, you know, I want to tell you, you still are a relational person, and you need brother-to-brother relationships in this race for Jesus Christ. Okay? So let me give you a couple passages. In Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 through 12, it says, 2 are better than 1, because they have a good return for their labor. If neither of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls, and no one can help them up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. You know, I kind of shared already, you know, last night about this accountability, but I want to kind of break it down to what I would consider 4 relationships that I would love for you to build, because it will make Christian life more exciting. It will really help you in a lot of places of temptation, and it will really, I think, really increase your heart for the Lord. Let me give you another passage that comes from 1 Samuel chapter 18, verse 1, then verse 3 to 4. And it's talking about the relationship between David and Jonathan. And in a way, this is one of the first bromance that there was. And in 1 Samuel chapter 18, it says, after David had finished talking with Saul, Jonathan became one in spirit with David, and he loved him as himself. Jonathan and David were friends, and it talks about their relationship as they really connected as soul brothers, okay? I mean, we're all looking for soulmate, like the opposite gender, you know, the girl of my dream. But, you know, there are, you know, really men, you know, band of brothers, you know, brothers who really stick together, you know, and then it goes on to say, and Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself. Jonathan took off his robe and he was wearing and gave it to David, along with his tunic and even his sword and his bow and his belt. And Jonathan and David, they really became brothers. And what Jonathan loved about David was not, you know, he was handsome and whatever. You know, he loved that this man had a heart for God, and Jonathan had a heart for God, and their heart for the Lord really drew these 2 brothers together. You know, man, I pray, if you really have a heart for God, and, you know, I'm praying all of you do, I'm going to believe all of you do, you know, you will connect with other brothers that really want to have a heart for God. And when those brothers, and some of us gather together to do that, it'll increase your spiritual life in a tremendous way. I became Christian at the age of 16, and you know, I went to a lot of these retreats that was seemingly powerful, like, you know, people crying, like felt like life was changed. I don't even remember half the sermons. You know, I remember when I was in high school senior year, I went to Urbana, like I think it was 1984, and it was like 19,000 people, and this auditorium, you know, basketball auditorium full of people. It was like amazing. I don't remember half the sermons, but when I was 16, I had a brother who, you know, in my church that we both became Christian together, and he's still my friend. You know, he's probably one of my greatest soul friend. And another great soul friend is, some of you guys might have heard him, Dr. Steve Lee, who's in Chicago, and, you know, I've known him since college, and they're like, you know, we really, like, kind of really share about our pains, and we share about our struggles, and man, those brothers have helped me so much more than a revival meeting, or some really great messages, even though those have helped. So I want to talk to you about this idea of relationships and some of the pillars that you want to build. Number 1 is what I call heavenward relationship, and that's very obvious. You need to keep developing your relationship with Jesus Christ. You need to develop your relationship with God. You need to read some books on prayer, on even Christian dating and what a godly man is. There's just, literally, there's this thing called Google. And if you Google, being a godly man, there's articles. If you go to YouTube, right, instead of searching for, how to fix a car or how to ride skateboard or something, right? If you write, sermon on becoming a godly man, top preachers come out, right? Then you're like, oh, Pastor Paul copied that message. Or Pastor Young used that message or something, right? And you need to kind of be active in your own relationship with God. So that's foundation. But here's the second one, heavenward as well as upward. And that is really praying about finding a mentor. Finding someone who is older. And sometimes they could be younger, but you feel like, they're a couple years younger than me, but man, this guy, he just knows his Bible. Maybe he was, he just was trained, or his family, or, oh man, this guy really prays. I feel like when he prays, it's just it's biblical and he's really into prayer. Or this guy is really it seems like he's very good at sharing the gospel. And it's always good to pray and think about those who are ahead of us that could actually invest into us. And if you want to find a mentor, I want to tell you right now, you have to be hungry. Right? You can't go oh, can you mentor me? And then you're like, oh yeah, and then, sometimes they forget and you're like, oh, he doesn't like me. That's why, I tell guys who want to be mentored by me, I said, you got to pursue me like you would pursue a lady, you know what I'm saying? You got to keep coming because I'm busy, and if you keep pursuing me, I will mentor you if you bother me or texting me can we meet now? We haven't met in 2 days, leave me alone. And then, I would mentor you, but so finding this mentor. And when you look in the Bible, the guys who really made it are guys who had mentors like Joshua. He had Moses. And everywhere Moses was, it's Joshua was literally stalking him. And of course, because Moses allowed it. But you see Moses coming out of the tent, and when you read in Exodus and stuff, you find Joshua was outside the tent. Moses is going up to the mountain. Joshua is at the foot of the mountain. Elijah and Elisha, where Elijah said, I'm going to go do this. If you really want to have the, double portion, you need to follow me. And his pursuit was to stay behind Elijah and see what he's doing and really learning from this mentor. Of course, another great is Paul and Timothy in the Bible. And finding that mentor relationship is very, very important. Okay, and it's crazy. If you want your mentor to help you, a lot of times, what we do is we find somebody oh, can you help me? The best way is to ask questions like what you're doing, mentor or friend or older person, how do you pray? And sometimes, I tell you, I can't always put words into how I pray. Sometimes it's best hang out with me, and when I pray, just pray, where I'm praying, and going and trying to pray and figure out the mentors that are around you. Sometimes if you can't actually even find, a physical mentor at home, it's really good to find mentors through books, reading people. A lot of people, I in a lot of ways, I feel I don't think he knows, but I've been mentored a lot by John Piper. He doesn't know, but yeah, I listen to a lot of stuff that he has and what he does, as well as this guy named Greg Laurie. He's totally out in another camp, and just really, reading some of their stuff, listening to some of their messages. That could be a mentor. Somebody that is older, and I'm always looking for people like that. Probably one of the, mentors I had all through college was, Pastor Min. He was older than me and spent a lot of time with them and mentored them. There's a couple of things about mentorship is this. And actually, Tim Keller talked about this. He said, you don't always want your guru mentor. He's that guy or that person is the one you listen to. Then it ends up becoming almost like an idol. I do what he says, or, I don't have to say I do what she says, because you shouldn't have a woman mentor, right? Only woman you should have is your wife, right? And so, so it's not good. I actually don't think it's good if you have this one solo mentor. I think actually, but you can't have like 5 mentors. There's one guy in my church. He calls me. He kind of bothers me a lot. So he's like, can I just have 30 minutes of your time like every other week? And I'm like, all right. And he keeps bothering me, so I'm talking to him. And then I found out he has like 8 mentors. And I'm one of them, right? And first of all, I'm like, man, you don't need me, bro. But the other thing is, when you have too many mentors, it's confusing, like who you're really listening to, But this guy's like, he wants to cover his whole basis. So he has like all these guys and I said, it's just for you. This is no magic number. I actually would have, definitely one person that really mentoring you, but 2 to 3 that, you can go like, 'cause some mentors, they can be off in that subject. And so you can kind of compare thoughts and go like, you don't want mentors that say the opposite thing either, you know what I mean? Like, Holy Spirit is wrong, no, the Bible is wrong. It's like, you don't want like these guys fighting, with each other, but that mentor really, really helps. And, sometimes you could find actually, you feel like you have a non-Christian who's like, they're wise with their words or they know the business and they're like, there's guys who are non-Christian, they almost like, they seem to live life well compared to like some Christians, but I just want to tell you, when I'm saying mentor here, I'm not just talking about being successful in your grade or your school or life. I'm talking about really spiritually and in your life, okay? I remember when I was in college, I was a freshman, and there were these 2 older sisters. They were seniors. One was, Christian, really loved the Lord. The other one was kind of like, you didn't know if she was Christian. She kind of went to church, but she didn't know. And it's funny, like, how sometimes, like, when I had, like, girl issues, I'm a freshman, I didn't know anything. I would talk to, like, this secular, I would consider, well, not a good Christian or probably not a Christian sister, and she would tell me, like, I'd be like, oh, I met this girl. And the first question she would ask me is she cute? I'm like, yeah, she's cute, And then it's like, oh, that sounds so cute. Let me see a picture of her. And then, oh, she's so cute. Go after her. Go after her. And then she'll give me all these reasons, like, what to do. And when she talked to me, I'm like, that makes sense. I'm going to go after her. And then the other mentor who was, she wasn't my mentor, but like an older sister, was, in Chicago, and I was in U of I, and I would call her, and I go, oh, I think I like this girl. And first thing that this older sister who's really into the Lord, would say is, I think you should pray. I hated that. All these mentors, all they tell you is, I think you should pray. It's like, I could have thought out myself. I should pray more. And but she would say, you need, and then she would ask questions like, does she go to church? I'm like, oh, I think I saw her once. I go, well, maybe you should see how her faith is and if that's compatible. And I'm like, but she's cute. What do I have to need to know about the other stuff? But I would tell you, when I followed the older sister who didn't have Christ first, it made sense, but it always would lead me to other headaches and drama. Okay, when I followed the one that was helping me biblically, it was pretty boring, but it would actually avoid drama and a lot of other consequences. And I realized, man, I'm really, it's not somebody who brings success in your life. It's success in your life with Jesus Christ. I know that sounds like, of course, but it's not. There's some of you that are already being mentored by guys you feel like are kind of cool, better than you, but they're not teaching you how to live life as Christ wants you to live. And you need to find, you have to pray about it. You have to be humble about it. You have to pursue. It takes time, sometimes lifetime. You have to be humble. Right? In my life right now, I have people that are older, and then, sometimes, through time and phases, they don't mentor me as much as they used to, but I'm always looking for men who are older, wiser than me, and when I see somebody with good character, I'm targeting them. I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I get some of their time? How can I learn from observation what they're doing? So you need that mentor relationship in your life. What's funny is, in a different way, as a mentor to other people, there's this person, it's like, came over to me and they were sharing, I've helped them many times before, and they were kind of sharing the mess that they were in, this relationship, and it was just chaos. It was like Korean drama. It was just like, what happened? And then I was reviewing it, and about like almost a year before, I was deciding if they should pursue this relationship. And this person said, I go, why didn't you talk to me a year before? And I could have kind of helped you so you're not at this place. And this person said, well, I didn't go to you because, that's what this person said, I didn't go to you because I knew what you're going to say. All right? Then in my mind, I'm like, if you knew what I was going to say, why didn't you do it? Then you wouldn't be in this mess. And the question is, when you say you have a mentor, is that somebody that you might influence your life, or you've kind of seen them and you're like, wow, when they say something, I'm really going to take that biblically serious, not more than God, but biblically serious. Second is, I think very important, is friendship. As again, Proverbs 27, verse 17, friends. And this, for me, mutual discipleship is one of the best discipleship. All right. Right now, do you have brothers that you're praying together? Maybe reading the Bible together, getting together and sharing struggles and actually, speaking, Christ into one another. You really need to be developing these relationships. That could be the missing, piece of your spiritual growth, all right? Somebody that you're at peers. And sometimes with mentors, you can't share everything, and you got to develop that friendship in Christ that is around you, people that are alongside of you. And to be a friend, you have to be a friend and really, be the person who's safe, that they can come and talk to you and be able to share stuff, and you don't have a loose lip, or you don't, take it, lightly, but you have to pray about it. I always feel like if you have two good Christian friends, men that you're going to run this race with, you're going to go far, all right? But, let me just say this. This is, actually, I think Pastor Paul was talking about it last week when I was listening to his message. It's like sometimes you have great friends in your 20s, and then you go to different cities, and then you got to restart it in your 30s. Some of the ones who are in your 20s can make it into your 30s, but I'm talking about, and then in your 30s into your 40s, you got to actually keep on working on this, all right? Because I know guys who hit 40s, and I'm 50. There are so many guys that used to have friendships in their 20s and 30s, and they are so lonely in their 50s. It's like they're married, their kids are old, they all left, and they realize, dang, like I've been like investing into my work and my family, life's been busy, and like I have no friends, like not really. I have no one I can talk to. Every phase of your life, and if you're blessed, and this is something you're praying for, you actually, if you end up having friendships in Christ that goes from your 20s to 30s to 40s to 50, whoa, I'm telling you right now, you have a friend who has Jesus, not Jesus, you have a friend who's Jesus with skin on, it tremendously will help you. And it takes prayer, work, and conscious effort to keep building this relationship. I'm very thankful that, like I've shared in my teens, I had a friend named Sam, and Sam Lee, he's actually a pastor in New Jersey, and we became Christians together, and we kind of drifted a little bit into our 20s, but we kept our friendship, and then into our 30s. And, I had a rough time because I got married earlier than most of my friends. I had kids way earlier than most of my friends. But along the way, I kept the relationship going. We kept the relationship going, and, he's been my brother, Christian friend for like 35, 40 years now, and wow, like, I don't know how much, it's tremendous help. Dr. Steve Lee is another one. I met him when he was a freshman in college, and I was a senior, and at that time, I looked at him like you're a little dude, younger guy. But I don't know if you know him. He's very smart, and now he looks at me like, you're a younger dude, And so, but we have a great relationship, and we've kept it up going. When I see, like, as I shared again, like Pastor Reggie and Pastor Paul Chi still kind of hanging out together, trying to help each other, you need to build that lateral friendship, right? You need to be looking for one. You need to be one. You need to keep cultivating it Third, so I said upward to God, a mentor you're looking for, friendship, a cross as iron sharpens iron. And then lastly is 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1. Is follow my example as I follow the example of Christ, Paul said. As I follow Jesus, you follow my example, right? Don't be like me, but be like Christ in me. If you have a relationship with God that's going well, and you have a mentor, mentors are always, it's like a coach, they can really help you and maybe set the right direction. And then you have friends that you're developing that is saying, hey, let's daily have accountability, try to figure this out. One of the relationships you want to develop is younger people that you're investing into. And sometimes I'm going to tell you, when you start investing into younger people, right, you may not have time all the time, but that could be an amazing fuel for you to keep on living for the Lord, all right? Of course, we should live for the Lord even if we're not trying to help somebody else. But when you're meeting up with a younger brother, if you're like a senior and you're trying to help a freshman, or you're older, you're married, but you're trying to help a single guy, and you're saying to him like, hey, you know what? You need to keep working on your purity. After you say that to him, you're like, man, I need to work on my purity, And that investing also has a loop that helps you to move forward. Are you with me here? And that's sometimes a relationship that you don't have. Like a lot of times, like you're getting mentored, you're helping one another, and if you're healthy, tap into investing into a younger generation or younger person, invest into them. That will also be a pillar that helps to fuel you to go to the right places. I remember before I started GCC, I had 1 year where I didn't have a church. I wasn't leading a church, and I was just going to church. For 1 year, I was just going to church, and I realized how hard it was to listen to people's sermons at church. I'd be like, why is that person falling asleep on me? But I was at church. I was falling asleep on the pastor all the time. I'm like, oh, look, my wife was hitting me. She's like, are you a pastor? I go, yes, I am. But it's like, that part was interesting, but this part is boring. And I'm falling asleep. But the thing I realized is when I led a church, I know this sounds, it could be taken wrong, but when I led the church and I pushed my church to pray, I prayed more. But when I stopped leading and investing, I still prayed, but not as much as when I was trying to invest into helping other people to pray. Are you with me here? You should pray even if you're not investing, right? But when you have that relationship, that also feels. So look in your life, okay? How's your relationship with God, which is the crux of everything. But then you have to look at, is there a mentor in your life? Are you looking for someone that would speak into your life? Older, or somebody that has developed a certain area of the spiritual discipline more than you, right? And when you see quality older people, you lock into them. You become a healthy stalker, okay, for them, right? Second, again, the third pillar is there friendships that you're building? To me, actually, this is, if you rank it, this is probably one of the most important. And then fourth is, are you having people that you're investing into? If you develop those 4 relationships in your life, I really believe you can go farther and longer, and it'll really, really help you as men of God. Amen?